Good morning. How many of you have experienced autonomous cars? Have you sat in a level 2, level 3 car? One, few hands up. How many of you have drivers? I think in India, we have autonomous cars for a very long time, last 50 years. You have a driver, and you're sitting and doing your work, doing whatever you want to do in the back seat, and I guess that's what many of us in the other countries are trying to basically get to. And as I was talking to the Zinnov team and preparing for this talk, they asked me to talk about autonomous cars and humanizing the autonomous car, which is the topic of my conversation this morning with all of you. Another interesting incident which was very unfortunate that happened many years back here in India. So my wife is follows Bollywood, like I call her online stardust, and she was sharing with me the unfortunate accident that Salman Khan had a few years back. And they're still trying to find the driver, I bet that car was autonomous car. So on to a more serious note. Let me start with a video. This was a autonomous car built by Harman. We launched it in our CES. So let me start with that. Thank you. So this is a car that we built with a partnership with a company called Rinspeed. Every year, Harman basically builds a futuristic car, which basically brings all kinds of different connected car and autonomous and other technologies from a future standpoint inside the car, and we basically bring the customer use cases live in this prototype, and this car was launched in CES in January in Las Vegas. A little bit introduction about Harman. Some of you may not know who we are. Harman, we're used to be a public company until March 10th. I'll tell you in a second what happened. We, market leaders in a few key segments. The heritage of the company is audio, 70 plus years, old company, basically building, various different consumer and professional audio products. We have almost, 16 plus different brands under Harman, including JBL, which is a famous brand started by a very famous audio engineer called J.B. Lansing, who introduced the voice in the motion picture. So the movies in the past used to be, there was no audio there, just video. And the guy who basically introduced, audio in the motion picture was J.B. Lansing, and basically built a very successful company called JBL, which is part of Harman. We also are number one in connected car space. So the head units that you see in many of very famous brands, German brands, US, Japanese, and so on and so forth, are built by Harman. So these are the head units, the central compute platform, basically, which provides connectivity and infotainment and other services inside the car. We also have our consumer group called Lifestyle Audio, which basically provides all kinds of consumer products. A professional group very focused on enterprise scale, large scale audio, video, digital switching and control systems. And lastly, the group that I run, which is Connected Services. This is a new group that was formed about a year and a half back because Harman felt that most of their products are getting, the software and services are becoming more and more important for all of their products, and they needed a dedicated group which basically focuses on, building, software and services, inside and outside the company. So Harman went and bought 6 different companies, including my previous company called Symphony Teleca. We bought a security company in Israel. We bought a over-the-air update company called Redefine, also in Israel. We bought a German company called Sin, etc. And we basically, combined all these companies into a new group called Connected Services. The goal here basically is to kind of focus on all the various different technologies that you were hearing about earlier. In the presentations, focus around mobility, around analytics, around all cloud, obviously, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. And basically kind of work on various different products, not just inside Harman, but also outside Harman as well. So we work with almost 600 different external customers as well, only focused on product and very focused on helping build these products both internally in Harman and also externally with various different companies. About 11,000 plus engineers working in 17 different countries. So that's Harman. So what happened March of this year? Samsung came and basically acquired our company, Harman, which used to be a public company. Now, as of March, we are a private company, part of Samsung Group, and Samsung, is getting into automotive in a big way, and this is the first time that Samsung decided to basically acquire a company to get into a new segment. As they are very strong on the consumer electronics side, also very strong on mobile, and now getting into automotive. Plan is very simple, which is basically in a car is going to get more and more digital. Today, 27% of the bill of material, the cost of building a car, is digital. So if you look at a typical mid to high-end car, 27% of the cost of the car is digital components. A typical car can have somewhere between 20 to 50 what I call embedded control units. So these are basically small control computers which are controlling acceleration, braking, ABS, the cabin, climate, other features and functions inside the car, and so on and so forth. And basically the digital content of the car is going to increase. The forecast is that about 40%, of the cost of the car will be digital content. And as Samsung and Harman, obviously, we want to basically take our fair share. And that was the thesis behind Samsung acquiring Harman. Also, one other key aspect there is, which is also a very important aspect when I talk about autonomous cars, that as cars become more and more autonomous, today, some cars which have certain autonomous features inside the car, including Tesla, Mercedes, others, we call it level 2 autonomous. And as cars become more and more autonomous, there will be more displays inside the car. And obviously, Samsung, is a very powerhouse on the display side as well. So I think the combination makes a lot of sense. So let me talk a little bit about what are the mega trends which are transforming the car. I have listed, 6 different, mega trends. I'll start with the second one here, which is around cockpit convergence. So today, inside a car, you'd basically see, multiple different, cockpits. You see the instrument cluster, which basically gives you information about information to you as a driver about the instruments which are inside the car. You see a central console, which basically provides you mapping, navigation, other connectivity and convenience features. Obviously, you have your phone, right, which also has a certain amount of features that you use typically in a car. What you will see is a lot of convergence happening behind all these different compute elements which are inside the car, and basically kind of creating a convergence which will bring and enable new use cases for the driver. Some of those use cases I'll mention as I go through the presentation. Cloud connectivity is a very big trend. We all know 20 years back, there was a hardware platform called PC that got connected to the internet. Microsoft built a platform called Windows. And many of us, wrote all kinds of different apps to leverage that hardware platform called PC, and we know what happened, right? Same thing 10 years back happened in the PC world, where this little device, this supercomputer called mobile phone 10 years ago, which basically kind of created Apple and Google created a platform to take the capability of this mobile phone and create an app ecosystem to leverage this hardware platform. Same thing is happening on the car as well. Think of car as the next hardware platform, which when gets connected to the cloud, you will see industries transforming, and I'll cover some of the use cases as we go through it. AI, machine learning is everywhere. So it's there in the connected car as well. And that's a key kind of mega trend which is going to transform how the car gets more and more intelligent and autonomous in its driving capabilities. Typically in an autonomous car, there is various different input mechanisms, sensors, camera, for vision, lidars, to basically kind of provide various different data around the car, and basically the algorithms, the AI algorithms are basically kind of running to detect objects, basically differentiate between a black bag coming in front of the car or a black cat coming in front of the car, and what do you do? Or if a bicyclist is driving next to a car and he's looking over his shoulder, chances are that the bicycle is going to make a maneuver because they're looking over the shoulder. So to detect a bicycle and to then also detect that they're looking over their shoulders, what actions the car's autonomous algorithms should take are some of the examples of how machine learning and AI are going to play a very important role as the car gets further transformed. I think shared mobility is a mega trend. Obviously, here in India, we have companies like Ola on a global basis, companies like Uber, Lyft, who are actively participating and kind of changing the transportation industry, with this mega trend. And finally, autonomous driving, which is a key important mega trend. What's happening is basically from a humanizing standpoint, right? When we look at as the cars become more and more intelligent and more self-driving, if you look at what is the end-to-end user experience. Today, the driver, when a driver is driving a car, it's basically looking at multiple different screens and basically kind of extracting the data from these different screens to kind of, take the driving decision, to various different maneuvers, accelerate, deaccelerate, brake, turn, whatever it is, right? Based on navigation information, instrument cluster information coming from all these different sources. Moving forward, I think the driver experience tomorrow is going to transform in a very big way. And this transformation has basically come from the convergence, the cockpit convergence, and also the availability of many other different ways of interacting for the driver. Voice is going to play a very important role. Voice as a technology. You heard in the earlier presentation, how natural language processing (NLP) is playing a very important role in the examples that we saw in other verticals. In car as well, probably if there is one technology that's playing a huge important role is voice processing. And because as a driver, when you are driving, whether you are driving in a autonomous car or a semi-autonomous or a manual car, you want to basically focus more on the road, and voice interactions become extremely important. So you want to basically kind of if you want to make a phone call, you want to use natural voice language to call somebody, to basically search for an address, search for a restaurant, to interact with the car. So voice is going to play a very important role as we move forward. Here on this slide, I basically try to list, various different, factors, that one should consider, when you are basically trying to kind of, look at how to humanize a car that's going to get connected. I think design and HMI are going to play a very important role. The cars today, are designed for the traditional way the cars have been designed over the years, right? But as some of these technologies that we talked about, including autonomous, including connected and shared, get into the car, the human-machine interface, is going to play a very important role, and that whole HMI has to be redesigned and rethought through. How does the driver and the passenger interact with the car? For example, as the cars have improved over the years, the driver experience has marginally improved, but the passenger experience has really not improved. What I mean by that is, passengers still have to ask the driver to go and change the radio station, change the air conditioning, change the lighting, or whatever, right, inside the car. What we are basically looking at is as the driver gets freed up, and the passengers, basically also would like to interact more with each other and also with the car. So why can't, using your own mobile device sitting in the car, you can basically kind of, change the radio stations, or change the, the media, music that you're listening to the car, listening inside the car, or do other kind of functions. Same thing is true for various different advanced interfaces like HUD, which is heads-up display. Which is basically kind of, you float an image, you project an image in front of the driver or the passenger, which, using the projection technology, DLP projectors, basically. And so there is no physical screen that you are looking at. You are basically looking at the image you may have seen in the demo car video that I showed earlier. It's a technology which is getting into, many of the cars, and heads-up display is going to play a very important role as well in terms of how the HMI, is going to be redesigned inside the car. I talked about the cloud, which is going to play a very important role. Talked about how center display, which will play a very important role as well as the car gets more connected and redesigned with different kinds of information, which is basically going to be used and provided to the drivers and the passengers of the car. Audio and sound management, is also key, and we're basically kind of, innovating in various different ways in that area. One thing that Harman released last year was what we call individual sound zones inside a car. So you can basically convert your car into 2 or 4 sound zones so that each of you can have your own sound zone, and this sound zone is created using active noise cancellation, and so on, and not headphones, right? So you can basically sit there inside the car, and while as a driver you are having your own conversation or your own phone call, your kids in the back seat, maybe sitting there and basically kind of listening to their own music, and nobody is kind of there is no fight inside the car, what radio station or what music to play, right? We call it individual sound zones. So audio and sound management is also going to play a very important role. So, I'm going to rush a little bit since my time is mostly up, but I think the building blocks of the autonomy are the ones that I listed here basically. I mentioned cloud mobility analytics are going to play a very important role here as the car becomes more connected and more autonomous. A lot of data and processing around AI, machine language happening in the cloud. User interfaces, we talked about sound management, we talked about, and security is the other key area, because once the car gets connected, security becomes extremely important. To get there, obviously, you need to basically, take an approach which is evolution, to this big revolution that we call autonomous cars. And architecture is going to play a very important role. Getting the architecture of the car right, in terms of all the elements to build the central compute platform, the sound management, the autonomous capabilities inside the car. The infrastructure of the city is going to play a very important role. Partnerships, will be formed. We're very closely working with Microsoft, to basically bring, for example, Office productivity suite inside the car, Cortana inside the car. We're working with, Google, others, right? All kinds of different partnerships, are being formed, and obviously, kind of, talent ultimately is what makes it happen, and that's going to play a very important role. I wanted to mention, how important the platforms were, just like in the PC world that Windows created, in the mobile world, the iOS and Android platform, which basically enabled this whole revolution of, PCs and mobile phones. In the car as well, the cloud platforms are going to play a very important role, basically to make the car connected, and also on the autonomous side as well. So, we also, this is a slide, this is a actual live demo of a car that we built also in CES this year, where we basically said that as the car gets more autonomous, all the screens which are there inside the car, be it your windshield or the side screens or the back screens, can be basically used for different purposes, right? Where you can do live, video calls in the passenger side, while the car is still moving. Because again, as the car becomes more and more, autonomous and less dependent on the driver, the screens and the displays can be basically used for, various different purposes. So, ultimately, what we need to do is to basically give people what they want, and I think, designing a connected car products and building it for the connected car and autonomous ecosystems. The most important consideration that one has to basically do is, what do drivers and passengers want inside a car, and I think. And that consideration is what is basically driving, most of us to basically kind of, innovate into new products, new technologies, new solutions, new use cases, and so on. My favorite is, give me a use case where I can make my Skype call, initiate it in my office, walk away from my desk, and my Skype call is on my phone, get into my car, and the Skype call is in the car, and I don't have to touch any buttons, I don't have to press any Bluetooth pairing and switching the call off on my desk to my mobile to my car. Just give me complete freedom, complete seamless connectivity, and that's just one use case. There are hundreds of others which people are working on. So to summarize, the ultimate road trip, is going to be where there is, autonomy, which is not the destination, it's just the start. Today we're at level 2. You see all the research that's going on and products and various different companies are working on, including Google, Uber, Harman, Samsung, others, basically. And I think this is just at the start. The user experience is going to basically kind of drive the future of automotive, be it connected or autonomous. Technology has to be there to enable it all, but humanizing it is very important. And finally, I think the architecture and the infrastructure and other components partnerships are going to basically accelerate the whole path, the whole journey. I think in closing, the point I want to make is, I cannot agree more with what Pari said in his opening presentation. That I think, all of us, basically have to reinvent ourselves, when we look at, technology and the cycles that the technology is bringing, for various different industries. In Harman, we created a, absolutely brand new group called Harman Connected Services to basically bring that, innovation and thought process around, creating new products, both internally and externally with our customers. And I think, I suggest, all of you, think about the same and do the same as well. Thank you so much.
Audio Jungle.